What is up, geeks? Welcome to Investigation Check. I hope the audio is working, and I won't know for at least 20 seconds. Welcome to Investigation Check, our irregular interview show where we dive into the lives of geeky creators to learn about their hobbies, passions, and the untold stories behind our favorite content. I'm your host, Joe, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this quest. With each episode, we interview the creative minds behind our favorite geek universes, game developers, cosplayers, authors, and YouTubers. Investigation Check is your gateway to the vibrant community that fuels our passions and inspires us to explore uncharted territories. For tonight's episode, we have the wonderful Grace, musician, TTRPG nerd, and obsessive Notetaker. Good evening, Grace. How are you this evening?
Hello, I am doing okay. I'm a little nervous, but that's kind of my default, so it's fine.
So, first off, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Where can people find you? What kind of things you've been working on?
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Grace. I go by Ghostie. My pronouns are she, they, by the way. If anybody needs that, I don't know why I said that way. It's fine. Here we are. We're doing it live. Woo! Okay. I am Ghostie everywhere except because somebody took my handle already on Twitter, so I'm Ghostlight Grace on Twitter. I do music, and currently I'm working on putting out new music, while also being in a chair and guesting in other people's streams and full-time job and blah 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 blah. all of the above chaos and everything. I play a lot of TTRPGs, and it's a good time.
Just real quick before we dive into it, anywhere you are playing that people can catch you?
I am in a podcast called Spells and Whistles. We're currently on our summer schedule, so we do something called Mini Series Mayhem. I always get this wrong. And basically it's one shots but split into several parts, so really multi-shots where we bring in guests and we play some indie TTRPGs or other TTRPGs that we don't normally get to play on the show. So it's Spells and Whistles pod pretty much everywhere. We're on Spotify, we're on Castos, and blah 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 blah. I'm also in a bunch of one on the Star Lost YouTube channel, which is Star Lost D&D. I'm also in a mini series over on Swindler's Den that's coming out on Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 episodes long, and I think we're on episode either 3 or 4 releasing now tomorrow. So, and then some other stuff. I'm playing Glitter Hearts with Records of the Realms on Tuesday, the 18th. What time? I don't remember.
I think I'm playing next Thursday.
Crazy.
The same one. I'm upset, Grace. I wanted to play with you.
I got asked very last minute because somebody dropped. But I'm excited, and I'm everywhere this month.
The busy month. It's the Gen Con crunch. We're getting everything in beforehand.
Yeah, it's also Pride Month. I was trying to figure out. I was like, why so many things happening at once? It's because it's Pride Month, and everybody's gay and neurodivergent in this day.
Gay and neurodivergent. Yep, that describes the entire TTRPG community. Sorry for we're getting a little lag on the camera stuff. I'm not quite sure why, but
technology.
Yep.
How dare!
Having a good time with us tonight. All right, so if you're ready, Grace, let's dive into it.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me about you, Grace. I want to know about you. What was your first kind of experience with nerddom, with the geek?
I can't think about like a concrete first experience. I've always kind of been a nerd. And by kind of, I mean, I've always definitely super been a nerd. My brother and I watched a lot of anime as kids and really grew out of that. We share a Crunchyroll account now, right? So we watched, if anybody remembers Jetix and 4Kids. Everybody knows 4Kids, but like Jetix and 4Kids were like the big places to watch Toonami back when Toonami was like a regular thing on Cartoon Network. So we watched a lot of anime through that. So, like the original run of Naruto and the original run of like Pokemon, the amazing, beautiful mess that is the American version of the Yu-Gi-Oh animation. Which I found out recently, they have the Japanese version on Crunchyroll, and it's a very different show in the best way. Yeah, well, because 4Kids took out like the Shadow Realm is just hell, right? Like you get a bunch of other things like that, like everything that's so iconic to us now from the original Yu-Gi-Oh dub. It was just like bullshit that 4Kids made up, and it's amazing.
Do you what was your favorite like anime show back in the day? Did you have one?
Oh, what was my favorite? What was on? I was a big fan of Digimon. Specifically Digimon Tamers was what was on when I was old enough to have the consciousness. And then gosh, there were so many good shows that were on when I was a kid. I watched a ton of Ghibli movies, which should surprise precisely nobody who knows me well enough. My brother's favorite one is Kiki's Delivery Service. My favorite one is Castle in the Sky.
Okay.
Which, again, super tracks if you know me well enough. Because Castle in the Sky is like very D&D.
Yeah.
It's also like so incredibly Miyazaki in the sense that like it has such a strong anti-war message. Like there's all this ancient machinery, and the whole conflict is the bad guy wants to grab the ancient machinery to use as like weapons and stuff.
So at which point do we go from watching anime to start playing music? Like where does the music aspect of your life start to come in?
Early as fuck, honestly. My mom signed me up for music lessons when I was 5 because apparently we went to like a choir concert, and I came out of that concert at like 2 years old, immediately knowing, like singing some of the songs I just heard.
Wow.
My mom, like according to my mother, I've always had a big thing with music, and she put me in piano lessons when I was 5, violin lessons when I was 6, and we just kind of went from there.
So how many instruments can you play now?
That is a great question. How many can I play now? Piano, violin. I dropped violin, more or less. I still have my violin, but I dropped it after around high school because I started doing theater more seriously.
Okay.
And I couldn't do both. There was just not enough time. I picked up ukulele when I was 10. I picked up guitar when I was 13.
Wow.
And then I sang. That counts as one, technically.
Definitely.
And I can very shittily play ocarina and recorder.
Okay. So, well, you said you were in acting as well. Do you still do that?
I technically yes, because I play TTRPGs.
Fair.
Which is just long form improv with a little bit more structure. If you like really like break it down to its core, that's what we're doing in the best way possible. I started doing theater I started doing like shows when I was 10, but I was in like theater camp for a while when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was really just I had a lot of energy. What do you do with 2 energetic kids in the summer? You send them away to sleepaway camp. But I'm shit at sports, so we went the other direction. Yeah, I started doing shows when I was 10, and then I did more or less a show a year through school or through summer theater until I graduated. More than a show a year, depending on what year you're asking about, because high school theater is kind of crazy. Like my school would always do a play and a musical.
Okay.
And when I was in high school, I would do the play and the musical at my school, and then the boys' school, because I went to an all-girls school.
Okay.
The boys' school across the street would have a musical in the spring that they would ask the girls to audition for, because there's not a lot of, I mean, there are, but like there's not a ton of musicals that you want to do with high schoolers that are all male casts.
Right.
So we did that a
Yeah.
lot. And then I was a theater major in college, but I wasn't performing.
Okay.
So I did like playwriting, analysis, liturgy, and then I double majored in music, and then also did like I minored in music production.
Wow.
You would not know that I minored in music production because I'm not very good at it, and I blame the pandemic for a lot of that because I was taking classes where I should have been in a studio at home.
Yeah, that's probably not the easiest way to learn that.
No.
So what is that process like for you, like with production, like making music and stuff like that?
It's I said it right before we started. My music writing process is very weird and oftentimes a little bit chaotic to very chaotic. It depends on the day. Me recording is always going to be the most chaotic thing ever because I'm also kind of a perfectionist, so there's no like fuck it, that's good enough. There's a no, it can be better, it can be better, it can be better, it can be better. That happens. I have to set a deadline for myself, otherwise it just doesn't happen. When it comes to actually writing music, fastest I've ever written a song was like 30 minutes.
Wow.
It was like a 1 minute thing. It's still on my TikTok where I was like announcing the start of Spells and Whistles Arc 2 because that's when I joined that. And I was like in the car driving home from my parents' place from visiting them. And like the last 30 minutes of the car, I was just like, okay, I have an idea. Now I need to do it. I got home. I spent like 30 minutes. I like wrote down everything, came up with a basic ass chord progression and went, cool, amazing. Now I got to film. And that took way longer than writing the song did.
So go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So typically it's I'll have like an idea because most of the music that I write is I like writing instrumental music, but most of the instrumental music I write is really, really simple. Like very, very think like I'm about to expose myself so hard. Think like early 2010s RPG Maker music.
Okay.
Yeah, then that's like kind of the style of the instrumentals I usually do.
Uh-huh.
It's very simple, very kind of silly sometimes, but it's a very fun style to write in. It's very similar. Like Toby Fox has a huge influence over like how I write music and the way I kind of think about the structure of that. Except that I, being very music theory inclined, write everything out in sheet music instead of doing it in loops. Which would be way easier. I hate that I don't do that sometimes. Yeah. Kind of depends on the song. I'm usually working on music in some way, shape, or form because it's just how I think. Like I can't even sit. I'm so happy we have music playing right now because otherwise I'd have like Spotify going because I need to have background noise. I forgot my headphones going to work at one point last week, and we were sitting and doing like clerical work, like paperwork, and I was like, I can't focus entire time. It was the worst.
So for people that don't know music at all, what's the difference between writing for sheet music and writing loop?
So when you have like loops, I'm the least qualified person that you know to talk about this. I'm going to tell you this now. But when you have loops, typically you can kind of iterate and you have these patterns, and you can do that coming up with stuff. Or I guess not loops. Loops is not quite what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about like MIDI, right? Where you just like plug an instrument in to your DAW and you can just like vibes it out. Okay. And you don't have to and like you don't have to worry about like what does the rhythm look like on the page. Okay. You just kind of get to feel it out.
Okay.
And a lot of people write music by feel, and like when I write the lyrical stuff that I do, which is most of what I do, it's writing by feel and knowing what those rhythms like feel like. And then having to put a metronome underneath it when you're going to record it so everything's consistent. But yeah, very, very, very different for me at least. It's a little bit more rigid. But it's also me going like going back to like classical music score, video game soundtrack scores, and getting to like look at that and see what they're doing and how they're doing it. It also is like it's good for me because it keeps me thinking about music theory.
Okay.
Because I don't get to do that very much after college, so it keeps me like basically doing like score study and all these things that my teachers were making me do when I was in school, which is good for keeping my brain active. Otherwise, I would just lie on the floor and ponder my existence, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What is it about the creative process of writing music that you love so much? Like, what draws you to it? What about it gives you such energy?
It's been such a big part of my life that it's actually easier for me to express myself in music sometimes than it is for me to just like talk. Right before we did this, I went live for 20 minutes on TikTok and was just singing for a little bit. So I panicked because I know how nervous I was. But I don't know. I started writing songs and music a little bit more when I was like halfway through college, which like who knew that a pandemic would make people want to be more creative? What a shocker. But I started writing music more because I played like one song that I'd written in middle school, which is so stupid and I think doesn't exist anywhere.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't exist anywhere because it's really dumb. But I played it for mine. I was just like, this is really good. And I was just like, oh, cool. And then I started doing it more during the pandemic because I needed something to do.
Right.
And it was also, I was playing D&D more and more. And I had the urge to write, but like just straight up writing wasn't always working. So I was like, fuck it, let's try something else. So I started writing bard songs. And we went from there.
So when did you start? So you started writing the songs during the pandemic. When did that shift from just you doing it yourself to actually starting to introduce that to the rest of the world?
Around when I joined TikTok, I was just doing like covers.
Okay.
And then I started posting song snippets just on a whim. Because before, once upon a time, I didn't give a fuck about my TikTok at all and was just doing whatever. And the only reason I downloaded the app at all was because one of my friends at school, just kept sending me TikToks. And I got tired of getting the message saying I needed to download the fucking app to watch the video. So I downloaded it out of like an okay originally.
Begrudgingly.
Like very begrudgingly, and then just went from and then was uploading stuff. And it really wasn't until I had one video where I had discovered Obsidian, spent 5 hours just kind of going ham on it, and then made a stupid video about it that blew up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's sitting. What's it sitting at? Let's find it, shall we? Where the fuck? How the fuck? Whom the fuck? There it is. It is currently sitting at 7,117. Nope, I can't read. 7,017.2k. 717.2k. I can't read numbers. Holy shit.
That's awesome.
I was an AP math student. You would never know it. But the first 100k were on day one.
Wow.
And then like that one video has basically like carried me over the last 3 years. It's crazy. But yeah, I made one stupid video and then was like, wow, that's crazy. What the fuck? And then had like a couple months where I didn't do anything. And then I posted another video just like casually of me being like, I'm dressed like my D&D character today on a whim. And then I was just like, oh, people are responding to this. What if I start taking TikTok seriously? And then we went from there.
So when did you start putting your music on there?
It was always kind of slowly going on there.
Okay.
I started thinking about what I was posting more. And then I went through another period of just like, fuck it. after like the initial hype from the one video kind of calmed down.
Right.
And then it's just been kind of, I started posting more and more as I was writing more and more, and it's kind of, at this point, it's kind of like, those are the demos. Those are my rough demos for those songs at this point. Because I also get to see what I'm doing, which is the big thing. It's like, what chords am I playing? Because sometimes I'm smart and I don't write down the chords that I need. Or I don't like have a video of me like showing myself how I did whatever finger picking or whatever I'm doing in that. And I'm like, I need that. Why did I not do that? That would have been smart. So now I have videos of all of it. So hopefully TikTok sticks around. Otherwise, I need a different way to do that.
So, what is kind of like inspiring? What things in your daily life are inspiring the songs you write? Is it just anything?
Poor mental health and the fact I hate my job.
That'll do it.
For the most part. And then like the other half of it is just I've said this to a couple friends of mine, but some of the songs I've been writing that are specifically like very bard-y songs are part of like me quietly world building for myself in the background.
Okay.
Which is a really fun way to kind of be like, okay, let's like take a look at this very small piece of like this, what could eventually be a world I run something in if I ever decide I'm not too scared to DM again.
I'll get you DM'd again.
You and so many people at this point.
So let me ask that question. So I know you named off a bunch of systems that you're currently playing in. Do you have like a favorite system that you've played in so far?
I'm a big fan of D&D. It was my first, and I was also just, I'm big into mechanics. It's so cool. It's really cool to be in like a high octane combat. I know everything that's going on, and then also be able to have like complicated mechanics discussions with other people at your table. I had that happen. I played a level 17 wizard with a friend some friends of mine from college recently. Managed to get like a bestow curse off at the beginning of the fight, and the DM just didn't get a turn for like an hour and a half.
Oh jeez.
And then later we were fighting. One of the other people in that group was playing against us. They were playing an enemy and had an anti-magic field that was generated from their armor, but I had cast Time Stop. So we had the turns of Time Stop going, but he was still getting turns because he wasn't being affected by the Time Stop because of the anti-magic field. So it was just really complicated, and it was really cool.
That is cool. So have you played? Obviously, you're playing 5th edition right now.
I'm playing 5e. I started in 3.5. I played.
You did start.
Like five or six sessions of 3.5. And the only reason I was able to understand any of that is that I play a lot of video games, and I was playing a lot of video games with similar stat systems in high school. And that's what got me through that. And then switched to 5e when I got to college, because I was like, oh, there's no way I'm finding a 3.5 group with 5e being so popular.
Right.
But I've played Mouse Ritter. I've played Pearls and Princesses. I'm a huge fan of Monsters of the Week. And I played a little bit when I was in college. I'm hoping to get to play more soon. It's a really fun system. I'm a big fan. Powered by the Apocalypse is just a really good system. I really want to try Kids on Bikes, or any of the thousands of variants that there are of Kids on Bikes, because it just looks like a really fun system. I don't know. I'm interested in a lot of it's fun playing in rules, like rule country systems. I really want to try Pathfinder. Just having so much fun with big mechanic builds and stuff like that. But Pathfinder is also a little bit scary looking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to try as much as I can at this point. Like, I know people that play Starfinder. That looks really fun. Like, Glitter Hearts is a really interesting system, and like I said, I'm about to play something in that, which my brain's been a little bit melty trying to wrap my head around that, because I've just been tired and busy. But I think out of my favorite non-D&D system, I would have to say is probably Monster of the Week.
Okay.
I just love it so much.
And what's the reason for that? Just because it's very crunchy, or
It's not very crunchy, actually. It's very like it's a much more chill game. And there are like some mechanics, but so much more of it is figuring out how your character fits into the world, and it's literally built into the game to have like a relationship with another character in
okay,
some way, shape, or form, which is really cool. And I like that a lot. And one of my favorite things about playing TTRPGs is like I love lore, I love world building. I really, really love roleplay also. It's I get to talk to other people as somebody who's not me, which is amazing. And it's one of the reasons I loved theater so much was I got to go on stage and I didn't have to be me for however long that lasted.
so when is role playing like the number one thing you play TTRPGs for, or is it the more combat system? Like, which of those two do you really love more?
Probably RP. Like good RP, I should say, right?
Fair.
Uh, it's like sometimes you'll be at a table and people just go in circles forever and ever and ever. And sometimes you'll be at a table and you'll just have those those good juicy sessions, right? Where you got so much happening. I love character drama, like either PC to NPC or PC to PC, like character drama, as long as everybody's okay with it.
Mhm.
Like I have a friend of mine in a game that we're in right now, where like both of us are just like, I'm so ready to yell at each other in character. It's gonna be so good. Um, but like really, it comes. My love for TTRPGs comes from a love of storytelling,
Yeah.
and I've said it before publicly. But like most of my TTRPG experience up until pretty recently has been pretty not great, actually.
Okay.
Just like I've had toxic DMs, I've had toxic players. I've like come out of situations where like I've known I've been in the wrong, which is never fun. But also like nobody was in the right in
Right.
some situations, and just, you know, not just being really unlucky with having played at enough tables now that now that I'm in the position I'm in, that's terrifying. It's really cool because I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people like you, case in point, right?
Or me.
But like, it's crazy to me because I don't know. It's crazy to me to be in the position I'm in. It's terrible. Not terrible. That's the word I'm looking for. Very different words. Whoa. Just like I've been perceived. Oh no.
So let me ask you this then: for those people that are in those situations where they're dealing with either toxic players or toxic DMs, what advice do you have for them to like navigate those situations?
I communicate to the best of your ability, but also like there's a point where, you know, you can talk it out as much as you want and it's just not gonna work out. And like a hard truth that I've had to deal like I've been learning more and more is like you're not gonna be perfect for every table. And I wholeheartedly believe English. Whoa. My first and only language that I speak like completely fluently, and yet here we are. Can't fucking say it. All right. Uh, uh, you're not gonna be perfect for every table, right? And that's okay. And I wholeheartedly believe that there is no wrong way to play a TTRPG. There's only wrong for the table that you're at.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of toxic traits for a table that you're at, or just like straight up toxic behavior, maybe there's a table out there for that person or people that want to play that way,
Right.
who will run it that way and be perfectly happy, right?
Yeah.
It happens to be that for most tables, maybe that's not the case, but you know, maybe somewhere there's a table for that person.
So have you DM'd before?
I have DM'd like twice.
Okay.
And it was back when I wasn't as like mechanics savvy as I am now. And I basically like I built I ran the high school AU for a D&D game I was in college,
Okay.
and was like cool. Here, I'm gonna build a sandbox. Here are 3 bullet points of like, here's students that are going missing, and the principal is actually a green dragon.
Jeez.
And then I went here, because most of the fun of that ended up being my friends were being silly, goofy high school versions of their
Right.
characters. And then the other one that I DM'd is a concept I actually want to try again because it was really fun, where I built intentionally very like not optimized characters, like really shitty builds
Okay.
for a bunch of my friends, and then didn't let them know who was playing what until the day of the one shot, and then I had them roll a d6 to see what they were playing and who
jeez.
they were playing. So they got like basic descriptions and like a really bad little crayon drawing I did of each of them, and that's all the information they had going in.
So, does DMing like interest you, or would you rather be a player?
I enjoy playing because DMing sounds scary. In part because like I've had a lot of really good DMs, I've had a lot of really bad DMs, and I've had more bad DMs than I've had good DMs at this point.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's like bad DMs for me. Maybe they just were bad DMs. I only have my experience with them to go off of, so but I've been so conflicted on this because I want to try DMing again. Because I've had a lot of people tell me that they think I would be really good at it. And I think now that I'm like much more mechanic savvy, I'd be able to do it pretty well. But it's scary because I want to give my friends a good experience. And I'm like also very much of the mindset that I should never be allowed to be in charge of anything ever, because I think that's a mistake. Or it's either the funniest choice or it's a mistake, or both. Both can be true.
And you would want to DM a D&D game? You wouldn't want to like do one of these other indie games?
I wouldn't mind starting in a rules light system, or even just playing like a GM-less game with people.
Mm-hmm.
And helping like facilitate by just like knowing what's going on a little bit more, right? That sounds fun to me. D&D, like I want to run a D&D game. I'm happy to run a one shot. The idea of running like a campaign, that's completely terrifying, and I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. And if I'm proven wrong in like 6 months from this, you can point back to this video and laugh.
Just gonna clip this.
But but yeah, I mean I'm very conflicted on it. I would love to run like a rules light system because I have a lot of really fun ideas that I want to use because it works better as like a here's like a prompt for like a TTRPG thing than like me just writing a story, basically.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe one day. I'm kind of pseudo GMing something on the 26th for a run up for an event that I'm doing, and we could talk about that later because that event's a whole list of things. But I'm like, there's a game that was played on Drawfee called You Awaken in a Strange Place.
Okay.
And it's basically all improv bullshit. Like you really can't prep for it because everybody makes up their own stats at the beginning. And you go from there, right? So like the DM can't really prepare, the players can't really prepare, and I'm just like, cool. For charity, this sounds stupid. We're doing it. Like, I got a bunch of my friends to play, and we're gonna be playing in that. Most of whom don't really have an internet presence, or if they do, it's like tangential to other people, or like, you know, they're not like this. I am a creator and this is my thing, right? That's most of them, at least. But like, part, I'm just like, I've created some silly, goofy bullshit, and I'm dragging you fuckers in with me.
Always the best way.
Yeah.
So, because you are such a more of a player than a DM, when you go about creating the characters for yourself, what is that process like for you? Do you always pull in parts of yourself, or do you like try to do a mirror of some aspect of yourself?
It Depends. I haven't played a lot. This shocked my friend when he heard it. I've played in 2 full campaigns
Oh, wow.
that have gone more than 6 sessions at this point. That have ended in some way, shape, or form for whatever reason. So I went from that to now I'm in like 4 or 5 games, which is really cool. And again, a little bit terrifying, but it's fine. We're here. So it depends it depends on the game. It depends on is it a one shot, what is it for, sort of. But most of the time I have like I'm one of those people that always carries around a notebook to write down just like whatever's in my brain. Because the physical act of writing it is more likely I will actually remember it. Hence why the notebook stack that you saw right before we started.
Oh, we'll get to that. Don't worry.
But when it comes to creating characters, I usually have a story first, and I'll have an idea that I've written. I'm playing a character in a game that my friend Ben, who's on Spells and Whistles with me, is running with my friend, and there's four players. I can't count. I was like, do I count? I do count. I'm a player in that game. That's how that works.
You definitely count.
It's a home game, and I've actually been making a couple videos about this character with my friend D&D Monetized, also known as John, who's we've also in that game. We've been like planning out videos. He's coming to visit soon, so we were like, oh, the content we can film. It'll grab your hands. But Fia is a character that I had a concept for that we've been talking about that I'm like, this feels like such a cliche concept to me, but there's so many people who've told me they haven't thought about it, which is that Fia is trapped in a cycle of reincarnation.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and so like the world kept ending, right? And so she's lived through like thousands of lifetimes at this point. And every time she dies, she goes back to the beginning. Like, this is a big thing in manhwa recently of like the returner, right? So I think maybe I've been reading a lot of those lately, which is not actually where I got the idea from, but I don't know. But yeah, she basically, like in cycle 1, as I've been calling it, she threw a wish, not the spell, just like a request out into the universe of like basically let me go back and save everybody. And now she's stuck in this, and like something answered, and that's all I know.
Okay.
But it's cool because the DM gets to give me like really like little tidbits of like, hey, here's this fucked up fact about this person you just met, and nobody else knew for like we're only like 8 sessions into that game. But I've learned over the years, I don't like having a secret going into a game. I like getting a secret as we go.
Okay.
Because then the players are in on it too, right?
Okay.
And that's really, and when the party's in on it, and you have a good party that's not about to meta the shit out of everything, that's really fun. Because it's like, oh, we know what this is, but we're not supposed to know it. Oh shit! Wait, we know why you're doing this out of character, like. So, I probably should have saved Fia's backstory reveal for much later, but I was like, nah, it's fun now. I made all my friends cry. It was great.
That's peak D&D when you can get people to cry.
I feel like such a monster whenever it happens, because it happened more than once within like 2 weeks of each other, with more or less with like a couple of overlaps between that game and another game that I'm in with people wise. And I was just like, everybody's like crying as like a reaction to like something I said or something that happened. And I'm literally sitting there like, this is great. Playing D&D with my friends. Having fun.
I love you guys.
I literally was just like, oh, and everyone's crying. Should I be upset? Wait. What happened? What did I do? It's funny. It's very funny. And there's always like the moment of just like, are you guys good? Are you sure you're good? Like checking in. But yeah.
So, kind of speaking about checking in, how has like D&D and your musical creative process, how has that kind of like affected your life and more specifically like your mental health? How has it helped you or hindered you, if so, your everyday kind of process?
It is so good and so bad for me at the same time.
Okay.
Mostly good because D&D inspires me to write so much in ways that like I never thought anything could ever inspire me to write. Um in like a quantity wise, right? Like I sit down and I'm like, "Oh, I have an idea for this thing." And there's always I always have an idea for something because something's always happening. Things are always changing. There's no stagnation. Right? Like I like every aspiring creative in middle school, I was very into like writing, right? I thought I was going to be an author one day, and I remember trying to write a story and being like, I don't fucking know what's going to happen. I should know, but I don't. I'm like, I could write a book about my D&D campaign now. I could write a book about like what my character's doing. I've basically written books for some of my backstories, which is I'm so sorry to the DMs who have received those. But yeah, it had a huge impact on me creatively because now it's what I do, it's what I love, and I'm like, if I could do this for the rest of my life, I'd be the happiest human being on the planet.
Yeah.
At the same time, the imposter syndrome that I get from it is fucking ridiculous, especially now being in the creator community because everyone's so nice, and I'm blown away by how like at least so far everybody I've met is so nice, right? Everybody that I've personally gotten to like interact with on a very personal level or gotten to meet in person, like we hung out at PAX U with Emmeline, and that was great, and it was a good time. But like, I've talked about this with some of my friends before. I surround myself with brilliant people,
Yeah.
and I love that. And it's also the worst thing ever at the same time. Because they're so brilliant. All my friends, like everybody I've met is so good at what they do, especially the TTRPG musicians. Like getting invited to do shit like this is wild to me. So I'm like, you talked to Lindy like before, and like I'm friends with Wes. I've met so many people. So many people I know do music, right? But that's not like their main thing. But they're so much better than me, at least in my opinion, of what like the things that I do that I'm like you know?
Well, I think you're amazing, which is why
Well,
I wanted to
thank
have this
you.
conversation with you. I fucking lost myself. So, do we want to dive into this now? Speaking about imposter syndrome, do we want to dive into this now, or we want to hold off on this?
I'm fine. Wherever you want to go.
All right, we'll I want to leave that for a little bit because I want to still dig into you specifically.
Okay.
What about I don't know if I've really asked this yet. What kind of like inspired you to specifically focus on like bardcore when you're writing your music?
I like did and I do and I don't at the same time, if that
Okay.
makes sense. Because
Yeah.
like there's always I love storytelling, and there's always like some kind of story behind every song, which is like one of the coolest things. If you go whenever you like, I got to see All Time Low live back in September, which was
Nice.
such a treat. Because I also got to see fucking Gym Class Heroes live as part of that tour, which is everybody I told that I was going to that tour immediately went, wait, Gym Class Heroes is still touring? Which was very funny.
Fair.
But every single song of theirs had some kind of a story behind it. And that's something that's so cool to me. Of like, you know, it's just like a story of like how they wrote the song or what the song was inspired by. Like, but there's always something, right? And so focusing in on bard music came from in part a game that I'm no longer a part of, actually, where I was bored and I had taken a level in bard in that game, and I was just like, oh, I could probably do some fun things. And then I started thinking about like, Well, when you think about folk music and you think about like shanties and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
the reason a lot of shanties are public domain is because we don't know who wrote the original in some
Right.
cases. Like for at least the ones from a very long time ago. Obviously now we have like the Longest Johns and Stan Rogers, and we know exactly who wrote those. But for the really, really old music, a lot of really, really old folk music, you don't know who the original author is because it got passed around so much.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's so many different versions of it. There's different verses depending on region, depending on where you are, and depending on like which people are singing it. And that's just that was really interesting to me. So I wrote a song for I wrote a song called Songbird's Lullaby, and I wrote like 2 big paragraphs of world building for that. And then I'm not in that game anymore for reasons that I'm not going to get into.
Right.
It's very complicated, but
That's fair.
I wrote like 7-ish songs that were either from that, like in the world of that game, or related to like what my character might have been feeling or something else.
Okay.
But it was like the idea of like, oh, there's like here's a gap in world building that could be really interesting to try and fill. Is really kind of really what got me into wanting to be like, no, this is fucking bard music. That, and I'm a playlist girly. I love making playlists for my characters. I love making playlists for the games that I'm in.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a meme playlist based on stupid shit that we've said. I've done that before. It's a real good time when you get to the end of campaign. Because it just becomes a story of like that game in memes.
Oh God.
Highly recommend. If you've never done that before, do it. It's so fun.
I've heard of like people making playlists for the character. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they made a meme playlist for the campaign, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I'm gonna now demand it.
Meme playlist is really fun. There was a one particular was there was a for that game that I'm not part of anymore. We had a sorry, it's so stupid. I shouldn't be laughing at it. It's just ridiculous. We had an artificer who was able to juice wizards into
Okay.
residuum.
Okay.
Like unalived bodies into residuum
Jesus.
through some chemical processing. And Juice by Lizzo may or may not have made it onto that playlist because of it.
I don't know how I should feel about this right now.
I told you we should. My friends, I said this to them several times because I have admin power in a D&D, one of like the servers that one of my games is in. And the game I'm in with my college friends, I've been given permission from the DM in that server to change everybody's names as I please, and it's such a mistake. Because by the time I get to D&D, part of the reason I don't super love my job, is that I'm very, very exhausted by the time I get home.
Right.
And so I don't have the energy to do pretty anything else. And so by the time I get to D&D, I'm always really tired, which also means that my brain just kind of shuts off and is just like, hey, you wanted to be a normal human being? Nah. Chaos gremlin hours. Let's go.
Oh God.
There's a game I was in where I had like my character had a really great arc for like this mini campaign that we did. And then we were presented with a deck of many, and I threw my entire character out the window so I could draw cards.
You seem like you're a chaos goblin. All right. Let me ask you then. So, as this content creator in this space, what kind of like challenges have you've come up against, like trying to work in this space, and like how have you overcome them? And do you have any advice for people maybe coming up behind you?
Oh man, I'm still learning. Man, the most wild sentence was hearing, like, as a content creator in this space. I'm like, you're not wrong, but it doesn't feel real. um, like, I'm my own worst enemy, and I know it. And it's I'm very much fighting against myself to be like, no, I am allowed to be here.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel deserved in a way.
Okay.
It's because it's scary, and really what it ends up being like, I made friends with the right people, and now I have amazing connections, and it still doesn't feel real. uh it's terrifying. Like, the anxiety part of me is just like, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and all of this is gonna be like the best dream ever, and you're gonna wake up and the reality is like you're living the most boring life ever, and that has yet to happen, which is insane to me. So in terms of just advice wise, I would say trust the people around you that are showing you time and time again that they want you there and they think you deserve to be here, because that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm hearing from other people that they think I deserve to be here, and I just kind of have to trust that, even if I'm not sure I do.
Yeah. I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm gonna say this again. As a content creator in this space, how do you connect with your audience? And do you incorporate any feedback from them in your creative process?
My audience is very small and very scattered across what I do, as far as I can tell. Also, the most of my audience is my friends. So they're the people who I'm like bothering anyway to be like, hi, look at this, please. I want to be engaging more with my audience. I feel so weird doing it sometimes because it feels crazy, and it's a lot of feeling like I'm just kind of shouting into the void.
Yeah.
And then very quickly finding out, no, I'm not shouting into the void. That was the case about a year ago, and then after PAX Unplugged, that changed very quickly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think it is about? I'm sorry to cut you off on that, but what do you think it is about PAX that kind of was the turning point for you?
I talked to people. I got to meet people, and that was my entire goal. Was I wanted to like say hi to people and be like, hello. I mean, we met at PAX. You saw. I ended up accidentally creating the best conversation starter ever.
Yeah, I still have that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I packed it.
I have
right?
one.
I know where it is somewhere.
Where did it go? It was on my desk. Wait, did I crush it? I don't know where it went. So if you were at PAX Unplugged, or even after PAX Unplugged, if you saw a bunch of people carrying around tiny paper dragons, that was me. Because I kept going up to people and going, hello, I think you're awesome. Would you like a tiny paper dragon? And then going from there, not bringing up the fact that I do any kind of content creation until like 30 minutes into the conversation, most of the time.
Oh god, it was fucking great.
Dude, when we went to the circ, somebody immediately asked like, "What do you do?" And it caught me so off guard that I just kind of stared blankly at them for a minute before it finally registered. I was just like, "Oh right, this is a creator event. That would be the implication of why I'm here, since it's very clear that I'm not here with anybody because I'm just standing here awkwardly staring at people." I'm really bad at humaning. For all that I can be like bright and energetic like online, it's very easy when I'm sitting in my bedroom and I don't have humans around me. So if I just talked at you at PAX Unplugged and you met me and that was very off-putting, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to people.
Oh my god.
I'm doing my best. Oh my god. Do you know Whitney smoking glue guns?
I met them. I didn't.
She told this story recently about when we got to talk at the circ, where I did like the deer in headlights stare. at her while walking, like doing like a drive-by, and then apparently I barely remember that night because it was so late and I was so overwhelmed, but it was so cool. But like, I did that 2 more times before finally walking up to Whitney with a tiny paper dragon and going, "Hi, I love you. I'm sorry."
Oh god.
I'm very
That's
bad at
nice.
humaning, and it's very funny. At the same time that I'm like, oh boy, I wish I wasn't the way I am. And yet here we are.
Doing it again.
Yeah. Paper dragons are coming back for Gen Con, by the way.
Are
So if
they?
you're gonna be at Gen Con, I'm making more.
That's phenomenal. How long did it take
I'm making
you?
more. They don't take me very long to do.
Oh, really?
It's just that I made like 500 for
Right.
PAX U and was giving them to so many people, and I ran out and I was making them on the fly at one point.
Oh my
So
gosh. You're insane. So, so you said you kind of touched back to your friends when you're looking for feedback on your art, right?
yeah.
How do you balance their feedback with your creative vision for the product, the project, not product?
Most of them aren't very musically inclined, so it really just kind of becomes a game of just like, hi, does this sound good? Yes or no? Because most of the people who are going to listen to my stuff probably aren't musicians, which is really cool, honestly, because then I don't have to worry about being like, hi, this is terrible. And somebody's gonna tell me it's terrible. Nobody has. It's been very, very positive and very wholesome so far, so I'm okay with that. But like, I don't know. I've heard like fellow musicians have told me they like my music, which is always very bizarre for me to hear. Because they are very good at what they do.
I think I want to ask you about what advice would you give to someone coming up in this space? I don't know. I feel like we may have asked this already, but I want to just dig like in just someone in coming up in the in total space like this niche market that we are in.
Be personable, I guess. Which is really funny coming from me because I'm awkward as shit. But, like, I remember thinking about my impressions so far of everybody being like so nice, right? At least outwardly. If there's behind the scenes drama, I don't know about it, and I'm kind of happy to be out of the drama, honestly.
Avoid
but
that.
yeah. I've heard like tiny snippets here and there just being on social media, and I'm like, wow, I had no clue. Okay. But like, it makes sense that you have to be nice to people, right? And you have to be like, you know, like a good person in this space for the most part, because it's not like being a streamer or just like doing content creation normally. Like, you have to work with other people,
Right.
unless you're playing a solo TTRPG, and that's a different story. But like, you have to work with other people to be doing what we're doing. Like, you can't be on an actual play by yourself.
Yeah.
If you're on an actual play and it's just you, that's just a fucking audiobook at that point. Like, that's not an AP. Not the way that like we think about it, at least. Again, solo TTRPGs are different, right? Because they're meant to be played by one person, but like by their nature, tabletop role-playing games are made to be played with other people. And then there's like, if you're making your own game, you have to work with publishers, you have to work with a company if you're working with a company. If you're doing a Kickstarter, like, you have to be like, usually you're working with a team to figure out like how that's gonna work out. There's no part of this industry that I have seen that is solely an individual component other than the actual like content creation of it. Like, if you're on TikTok and it's like you're trying to build your brand, right? That's different. But like in terms of the actual connections with the TTRPG industry, with creators, like you have to you play nice, I guess, is a way to say it.
Yeah.
Like if this was an interview, this would just be a Q&A with me in the chat if you weren't here. That's not the same thing as an interview. That's not an interview at that point.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the raid, Toyzilla. Sorry.
Hello. But like, yeah. Cooperate, collaborate. I've gotten to like meet people if you can, and don't be crazy about it. I felt so bad. There's a couple people that I like more or less just kind of screeched at PAX Unplugged. Because I got really excited. I was in full ass fangirl mode. Because PAX Unplugged 22 was my first ever convention. And then I did MomoCon 2023 with a bunch of my friends. Because they were all meeting up, and I was just like, and they invited me to come along, and I went, fuck it, sure, why not? And then, like, PAX Unplugged 2023, I got lunch with Wes on Saturday, and was just like, and he was like, okay, so what's your goal? You know, what's your goal for this year? I was just like, I just want to meet people. I want to say hi.
Yeah.
And got a taste of what it was like to like network for the first time. That was the first time I had ever networked.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, same.
Don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but nobody really knows what the fuck they're doing. But like, I saw people that I've admired and seen on my phone on TikTok for years now, for like a few years now, and it was absolutely insane seeing them in person. Like, I straight up just like screamed at one point. I think. I don't know if it was words. I'm really sorry to whoever had to experience that. Some people were very gracious about it. But and it was also, that was part of the point of the Paper Dragons, was also like, not only do I have like a conversation starter, I don't have to begin the conversation as a networking conversation. I can just go up and be like, hi, I think you're really cool. Have a thing.
I come bearing gifts.
I come bearing gifts. Like I said, I'm bringing them back. So whoever got one at PAX Unplugged, you're probably getting another one if you find me. Because Gen Con, I've heard, is humongous, and I'm terrified of that. But it's fine.
I'm coming to find you. I'm gonna track you down just so I can get a whole parade of fucking dragons.
Yeah, at the very least, the first day is gonna be really easy. At least for like an hour-long block, it'll be very easy to find me because I won't be going anywhere.
Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I am gonna be on a panel at Gen Con, which is crazy. I am on a panel. It's called Lose the Crunch. It's in JW. I forgot the room number. Never mind. Fuck that. I should know that. I was looking at it right before this. It's fine. But it's me and Natalie from the Storyteller Squad, and I believe No Man and Bob World Builder, not Bob the World Builder. Nope. Bob World Builder. I believe that's who's on it, as far as I know. That has not changed. But yeah, that is Thursday at 4 p.m. in a place that I should know the room number. But we're talking about rules light mechanics, right?
Okay.
In TTRPGs. So like the lose the crunch, it's funny to me because I like the crunch, but I'm also like, as somebody again who wants to try GMing again eventually, like the crunch is fucking terrifying when you're in charge. So here we are.
So let's see. Well, let me ask you this.
JW203. Thank you. That's
And
the room. That's the room. Thank you.
Did you say the time for it? No, the date?
4 o'clock on Thursday, on day one. So we end 2 hours before the Crit Awards.
That's what I want to get into that too. Let me ask you this first, though. Are there any dream projects or collaborations that you'd love to pursue in the future?
Oh my gosh, so many. I feel like one of the big ones would be like the super dream one that would be so amazing. That is probably never gonna happen ever, would be get on Dimension 20 somehow. But the reality of that really is just, I want to meet Brendan Lee Mulligan, and I want to pick his brain about just like how he structures stories, because I think it's so interesting. Like, I
Yeah.
just love to have a conversation with that man.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but he will definitely be at Gen Con because we met him last year on the street.
That's not a terrifying notion at all. I know the McElroys are going to be at Gen Con. So I saw a couple things and I was just like, it's fine. We're cool. I'm so calm. I'll be the calmest human being you've ever met. No, I won't.
You sit on the throne of lies.
In terms of like the non-union stuff, so the stuff that's like eligible for Crit Awards.
Yeah.
I'd love to play with the Unprepared Casters crew sometime.
Mhm.
They just seem like such a vibe, and I love everybody who works on that project. I would absolutely love to play with the Legend of Avant. I feel like everybody would want to play with the Legends of Avantra crew after Chuckles the Clown. Like, goddamn.
God.
They just look like they're having the most fun.
Yeah.
And I want to do that. That looks so fun. Like, there's so many people I would love to work with, most of whom probably have no idea who the fuck I am, and that's fine. I go into everything like not expecting anything at all, right?
Yeah.
Other than just like, I get to play a game with these people, and that's awesome. Cool. Where are we going from here? Like, I played Alice's Messing? Nope. Let me try that again. I played Alice's Missing recently with, like, I played it with Maisie and Whitney and Serenity and Cam. Yeah, I was like, there's only 5. Hold on. And that was, first of all, Hunter's Entertainment, you made a fucking amazing game. I've said that a million times already. I will sing your praises. I will play that game again in a heartbeat. I immediately bought it after we finished, actually, because I had so much fun with it. Like, I was like, first of all, why am I here? Because all of those people are well established and very good at what they do. And Grace is here too.
I want you to know I'm going to fight you for all the negative talk this campaign. I'm not even saying anymore. All the negative talk this interview. I'm going to fight you at Gen Con.
If it wasn't obvious from the everything, I don't think too positively about myself, but
Well, I love you.
Well, thank you.
Can't even do a heart right.
We're thriving today.
It's been a tough day, guys. So, okay. You feel like you answered that question well? You got everything you want? You talked about what your dream collaboration is?
God, I think my dream collaboration is just anybody I've been following for a long enough period of time at this point.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to put the ball on the tee for you, and I need you to knock it out of the park. What previous collaboration have you worked on that just brought you so much joy?
So, sorry, this doesn't feel real. And I got the email on Wednesday, which was yesterday. Fuck. That was... It doesn't feel real. That's how not real it is. I don't know what day it is anymore. I got an email yesterday from a certain Crit Awards saying that I have been nominated for a Crit Award for a song I wrote directly after PAX Unplugged, with the one and it's a co-nomination with the one and only Arcane Anthems, which is amazing and terrifying. And I have so much to thank Wes for, first and foremost, for being my friend, and also having the patience to sit through a 45-minute one-on-one conversation with me the first time we met. But he's a lot of the reason why I'm here and am as comfortable being myself on the internet as I am now. because he was one of the first people to say to me, like, just be you, just do you, do your thing, right? Which was, yeah, but I got a message from Ivy saying I could say that right before we started, which was super, super exciting.
Thank you, Ivy.
And I cried a little bit, and then I had floor time, and now we're just conceptualizing that that's real. But yeah, I wrote a song called "Touch the Sky" right after PAX Unplugged, and Wes liked it so much that he did a cover of it.
That's awesome.
And that's what got us our nomination, which is crazy.
So what was that process like for that song specifically? Like, what kind of like inspired you? How did that go for you?
I was in my feels a lot after PAX Unplugged, because it was such a big up and down sort of moment, because I was like, wow, this was a really great weekend, and wow, I really don't know what I'm doing, and was thinking about so many social interactions and just nitpicking everything I thought I did wrong, with some people who now talk to me regularly, which is very, very sweet of them, and I appreciate anybody who has the patience to put up with me. Case in point, hello. But it was just crazy. It was crazy. Because I made the song and I was just like, I'm feeling a lot of feelings, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, I'm scared now. Wow, I'm doing this. Okay. And the response to that fucking blew me away.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, I didn't blow up the way I did with the fucking stupid Obsidian TikTok that I did, because it is just a silly video. And of course it's one of the silliest stupid videos that I've done.
Yeah.
Is of course the one that did the best, and I was just like, okay. But I don't know, like the whole, there's a flying motif in that song, right? In terms of like lyrically, where very much like I said before, I keep thinking I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, and none of this happened, and I've been dreaming, and there's physical or digital evidence that that's not the case, and that's crazy. But I guess that that feeling of imposter syndrome, that feeling of being like, wow, like that ups those highs and lows. I knew I wanted to talk about PAX Unplugged after I got home.
Yeah.
And I sat on it for a day, and ended up coming up with a song and I say in the beginning of the original video, like, PAX Unplugged ended yesterday. I'm not great with words, but I'm not bad at songwriting, so here we are.
That's awesome. And where are they able to see that video right now?
So the original video of me singing, with my voice being so shot after that came on, is currently pinned to my TikTok. And then Wes's version is out under Arcane Anthems on Spotify. It's called Touch the Sky. I'm on there as a songwriting credit, which has my full name on it, which is very funny to me. But not as a singing credit, because I don't sing on that song.
Oh, okay.
But not in Wes's version. I'm hoping to eventually do that.
Yeah. You guys planning on re-recording it or no?
I would love to. He is a very kind and very busy man who I do not like bothering.
Fair. So, I think, let's see here. I think I only have one more question for you before we move into we're going to open up to viewer questions, and then we're going to do a couple rapid fire questions. Do you have a D20 on you?
I do.
Okay.
Do I have a D20 on me?
Listen,
I have a D20 on me?
All right. So the last question I will ask you is, what message or impact do you hope to leave through your content in the geek space?
I like making music that connects with people, and I like making stories that make people feel things. Case in point, me making my fellow players cry. That wasn't really the goal, but it's what happened. And everyone was fine with it, so it's fine. But yeah, I love telling stories with people. And like my little space on the internet is very much like a safe space for me. And you know, if I can make somebody else's day a little bit better and not have people feeling like as just like terrible as I do most of the time, with like depression and anxiety and blah 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 blah, all not fun things that we're not going to get horribly into. That was so weird. I'm so sorry. um, but yeah, if I can make somebody else's day just like a little bit better, then I'm happy to do that.
It's amazing. I love that. All right.
Wow.
So we're gonna move on to the dicey questions segment. This is you're gonna roll a d20, and it's connected to a number, which I have a bunch of questions listed, and I will ask that question. These are just random fucking questions. So while we're doing that, if everyone can get their viewer questions in the chat, we will get once we see like that's populated enough, we'll switch over to do that. So Grace, go ahead and give me a d20 roll.
Gonna use this really beautiful, I want to show it off really quickly because I got this at PAX Unplugged, this really pretty silver plated D20 from who made this? Modern Artifice, yeah.
Nice.
She purdy. I like showing it off. Anyway, rolling a D20. 2. Solid.
What is your favorite and least favorite franchise?
Ooh, favorite franchise? Fuck. You've asked me to pick a favorite child, and that's not fair. I am a really big fan of too many things. But if I have to pick one right this second, I'm gonna say probably the Persona series.
Okay.
Or I'm also a really huge fan of. I'm really scared of what this is going to be, but I'm a big fan of Undertale.
Okay.
Because of the story that it tells, right? Those are the two that are coming to mind. I don't know why those are the two that are coming to mind, but here we are. It's fine. I immediately jumped to video games for some reason. It's fine.
What is it about like Persona and Undertale that you love so much?
Persona 3 specifically is just a really cool story, and it has a lot of cool characters, and a lot of people's intro to the series is Persona 5.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly just solidifies my opinion that the Persona series needs to stop having silent protagonists. We've had 3 games in a row with a silent protagonist from the mainline Persona series, and in Persona 3, they kind of get away with it because the main character is horrifically depressed and very traumatized. In Persona 5, Joker very clearly has, like, a very interesting personality, and I feel like in fandom, that's, like, really touched upon, obviously, because, like, fandom takes, like, one character trait that might be, like, implied and runs with it, which is always really cool to me. And then with Undertale, I love the story. I love a lot of the ideas that are brought into that game. And obviously I fucking love the music. So a lot of the times, like, I will get drawn in from the music first, and then we'll go from there. Least favorite franchise right now? Fuck turfs. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
I think everybody can figure out from there.
All right, give me another d20.
I just yeeted that. What are you? I don't know on this die. That's a natural 1. Hi, if you ever wanted to know what my dice rolls are like, you're new to this, I realize. That's really funny, because a lot of my friends are in chat right now, and they know this, which is that I either roll like an absolute god, or I roll like dog shit, and there's almost no in between.
All right. What is your favorite anime, and what would you consider the most overrated anime?
Overrated anime is gonna be scary. Because I don't know of that. I'm gonna come back to that part. Actually, no. A most overrated anime, probably Naruto Shippuden, specifically Shippuden,
Okay.
because let me say first, I watched all of Naruto Shippuden. I watched the entire thing. That shit was too long, and the ending made no sense to me, at least. And that franchise is still going.
Yeah.
And favorite anime? Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Specifically Brotherhood. I have gone back to that specific story so many times.
Yeah.
And it gets better with every rewatch. I notice new things. It's the one show that every single one of my friends could agree on as background noise or as like something we would watch whenever we couldn't decide. We would just put on, specifically hilariously, the Lust versus Mustang fight, which is an amazing one.
Yeah.
But like I think I've watched that show more than any other show I've ever watched in my entire life.
Yeah. All right. We got a lot of questions coming in, so give me another D20 roll and we'll see where we
Do I switch dice? Or do we stick with the one?
What you feels right.
Let's use I'm gonna show this one off too, because this one's just funny. I have this metal D20 that says fuck as the one.
Okay.
This is my favorite D20 that I own. And I rolled a 4.
God.
Getting all the bad rolls out today. It's fine.
Favorite character in sci-fi or fantasy?
Ooh. Ooh. That's a very good question. I don't know sci-fi quite as well. I should. I'm bad. I should know sci-fi way better than I do. In fantasy, if I had to go with like a super basic answer and just stick strictly with Lord of the Rings, Tom Bombadil all the way.
Okay, why Tom?
He's just a good boy. We love Tom. Favorite character in fantasy as a whole would probably be Hoyd from the Cosmere, Brandon Sanderson.
Okay.
Who shows up fucking everywhere in the Cosmere under different names. In the Stormlight Archive specifically, which is my favorite book series I've ever read, he shows up originally as they call him Wit. He is the King's Wit, and his entire job is to insult people on the King's behalf, which sounds like the best job on the world in the planet. And I love him. He's basically a bard. He's a storyteller, and a lot of times, specifically in the Stormlight Archive, he will tell stories to some of the protagonists at crucial times when they one of my favorite moments is from book 4 of the Stormlight Archives, where he says you will be warm again to another character, and that's all of the spoilers I'm going to give on that.
Okay.
But the context of that scene is phenomenal, and that's just a really good line anyway. But he's just, if you have not read the Stormlight Archive, I highly recommend.
Brandon Sanderson. Right?
Yes.
Brandon Sanderson.
If you have somehow been living under a rock and have not heard of Sanderson in some way, shape, or form, even tangentially, he also wrote Mistborn, which a lot more people are familiar with. Read Sanderson, man.
He also finished
like,
Wheel of Time.
Yes, he did. That's what a lot of people know him from, because
Yeah.
a lot of people are Wheel of Time fans. But like, I started with the Stormlight Archive. If you're gonna read the Cosmere, there's like a whole reading order that people recommend. But yeah. Read the Stormlight Archive, and then come talk to me about it, because I love talking about those books.
I'll put it on the list.
Book 5, he just finished writing book 5, so we should be getting that next year, I think.
Oh, nice. So it's still going on?
Yeah, so he releases, it's supposed to be approximately every 3 years. The pandemic fucked that up, something fierce. And so we're getting book 5, and the series will conclude sometime when I am in my 30s, I think. So
That made me sad. All right. I think we're gonna move on to the viewer questions. We got a bunch in here. You can keep putting your questions in. We'll read them all up until we finish. First question is going to be from Reader and Rogue, who is Taz in our actual play, Forging Fates. Will you be going back to PAX U this year?
I plan to. I would love to. PAX Unplugged is really fun. It's also much more my speed as a convention. Because, like, the busiest day of PAX Unplugged is the quietest day at MomoCon. Basically, it's like my best. It was like my immediate first kind of realization. Because MomoCon was was the second convention I had ever been to.
Oh, wow.
PAX Unplugged 2022 was the very first one I did.
Yeah.
And I specifically picked that one because I knew it was a little bit smaller, and I also knew it was just TTRPGs, and I was just like, cool, yay, special interest. Cool. So yeah, I'm planning to go back to PAX Unplugged. The only thing that will stop it is extenuating circumstances, work, life, finances. But
Typical
yeah,
things.
the normal things that keep people from going to these things. But yes, I would very much love to go back to PAX Unplugged.
From Dean Demonetized, what is one video game or piece of media that you would want to play through as a campaign?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Man, I think. Ooh, I feel there's a lot. There's a lot. Good campaign, or a very good basis for a campaign, right? No, that one wouldn't work. Never mind. My first two thoughts were like one of my favorite games of all time, and then one of my favorite shows of all time, which was immediately 2018 God of War and Arcane, the League of Legends adaptation that's on Netflix. Neither of which are really well suited to but like the worlds that they build
work, yeah.
Really, really interesting. The actual stories,
yeah,
no. But the worlds would be really interested. The only, I don't know anything about League of Legends. I have been avoiding League of Legends like the plague. Because the people that play League of Legends, not everybody, obviously, but like the people that are the loudest in the League of Legends community would probably be the most accurate, terrify me. But I love Arcane, and the writing for Arcane is fucking brilliant. And it's one of the few shows to ever make me almost cry.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot for me to cry at media. Case in point, my friends crying in D&D and me smiling and being like, I'm having a good time. Dude, I had a player character die. It got better, but I had a player character die maybe a month or two ago, and all I could do was hysterically laugh the entire time. But my friends were so horrified, and we're like, "Oh my god!"
Just see you at the fucking corner somewhere with a knife, just laughing maniacally.
Not yet. I got. We were level like 3 or 4. I got crit with a poison rapier and thrown off a cliff, and took 8.5 times the amount of damage as my max HP. Because fall damage is a thing, and all I could do was laugh hysterically the entire time.
All right. Reader and Rogue, you said you're a playlist girly and that you have a character, Thea, that you love. What song on her playlist connects the most with her?
Oh, Fia, spelled F-I-A. I realized me talking like rapid fire does not help with text to speech or speech to text translation. I have a playlist for Fia. I'm pulling it up right now. Give me 2 seconds. There's a lot of there's so much vibes in terms of just like what's going on with this. There's did I put my own fucking song on this playlist? Why did I do that? I hate that. Okay.
Gotta get those views.
Has to be. What the fuck? I don't know. There's the whole thing with like the cycles with Fia is so interesting. And so a lot of her stuff has to do with like what ifs, right? Because I love me a good AU. I love me a good what if. It's one of my favorite things to explore. Just but yeah, just I think well, a little on the nose, but Over and Over by Rio Romeo is
Okay.
on there. Which is very that song is very fits it very well. I think also that's another one on here that fits super, super well. I would say I'm avoiding my own song like the plague.
What song is it? And where can we find
it's actually the one that got nominated. It's Touch the Sky, which is really funny. I didn't really register that I did that until I pulled it up. I'd say also another song that fits really well would be I have My Alcoholic Friends by the Dresden Dolls on there,
Okay.
which I feel like also fits. It's pure vibes at that point, really. Just like what are the emotions that are being put into the song? What's like the general feeling? Because some not there's a lot of stuff that doesn't like fit perfectly, right? But like adjacently is very much like there's that frustration, there's that like confusion sort of vibe, or just melancholy. Because one of the things with Fia that I very intentionally chose was just like to have this character that chooses to be good after everything.
Right.
Because I love me a good trope. There's tropes that can be very, very cliche sometimes, but like there are some tropes that if you do them right or in specific contexts are always good, and the character that chooses to be good after being through the ringer over and over again it's very cathartic sometimes, and it's amazing. It's always very nice to see in media when it's done right.
All right. Instant Sorry, what Pokemon do you think would make the best in IRL companion?
Ooh. Something squishy. Not something squishy. Sorry, something like fluffy and huggable. That's the word I'm looking for. Is he on the floor? He's on the floor. Would love to have one of these. This is a Wooloo. I have props. I'm in my room. These little guys, I don't know if you've ever played Pokemon Shield, but like the whole intro to the game before you properly start playing is you chasing after one of these guys, literally rolling around. Because he's just a round little sheep boy. And the first gym in Sword and Shield is literally just like corralling a bunch of these little guys rolling around. And I think it's the funniest thing on the planet. In terms of actually having as a IRL companion, I would love to have a Fuecoco, because he's just a head empty, no thoughts, adorable little man. But I also think that he would be too stupid to function. Would be the concern there. Although I have a dog that's a little bit too stupid to function. So I have a dog named Trinket. He's an Australian Shepherd. That breed is supposed to be very smart. He's not, but he's very cute, so it's okay.
Gets away with it. Instant Sorry says, it's Muck now. Sorry, you said squishy.
That's my friend Ben, who's Instant Sorry is my friend Ben, who is a player on Spells and Whistles, and also my DM for the game that I play Fia in, actually.
I'm gonna mess up the first word on this one. Equi is not funny.
That's Equa. Equa is not funny. Hi, Equa.
What is a song that you recently discovered that you would recommend?
Filling up Spotify again. Going into my liked songs. There's a lot of things that I have not recently discovered that are at the top of this. Hold on. I've been listening. Hi, I am part of the LGBT community. Happy Pride Month. I've been listening to a lot of Chappell Roan. Number one. Number two, most of my friends know this at this point. I've been listening to a shit ton of Marianas Trench again. When they're going on tour in the fall, and I want to go see them real bad. because that just seems like a good time. In terms of like a recent song, I'm gonna try and find something that's like more recent that came out more recently. But other than they have Mariana Trench released new music for the first time in 5 years. It was a big deal. But they have a song called Shake Tramp, which is really fun.
Okay.
It's a fucking vibe, and I love it. Another song, not a recent one, but there's an artist named Ren, R-E-N, who writes a lot of really, really interesting music. And he did a couple collaborations with Chinchilla, who sings Little Girl Gone. Also a really cool song.
Yeah.
But he did a collaboration with her a few years ago for 2 songs. One called Chalk Outlines, and the other one is, I think, called How to Be Me. And both of them are heavy songs, but they are beautiful. And both of them have amazing voices, and the lyrics are amazing. And for all that I write really sad music, it's amazing, honestly. Like I come from theater. I specifically come from musical theater, so like if anybody ever wants like a bunch of musical suggestions, happy to give those too. I've been back on a great comic kick. That's my big one.
Yeah.
Great Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. I got to see the original Broadway cast with Josh Groban, and that was a treat and a half when I was in high school. If you've never listened to that, highly recommend. It's very, very interesting show, honestly. None of those are recent, but I don't care.
This is your interview. You do what you want. Okay, I think we're at our last question. It's by Earthborn Gnome, and it's of all the songs you've written and covered, what is your current favorite? What is one song you haven't covered that you'd like to?
Favorite song I've written?
The one currently up for Critic Award nominations?
That is very much up there. I'm totally not pulling up my notes app on my phone with all of the lyrics I've written to try and figure out what songs I've written, because I don't remember. Most of them are not out, and I've had people asking me, like, when is this coming out on Spotify for a while, and I only just started releasing stuff this year.
Okay.
And instead of, like, spending a lot of time writing, I've been trying to, like, motivate myself to get stuff out.
Right, do the business side of it.
Yeah, well, it's not. I could care less about the business side of it. It's just fun, but it's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like I said, I am the tired after work, so it's a whole thing trying to executive function my way into doing anything. I'd say, in terms of favorite songs I've ever written, the one that's nominated is up there. Touch the Sky is pretty up there. Because that song now means a lot to me. Yeah. It meant a lot when I wrote it, because I wrote it from like I write from a very genuine place. So, even when I'm just being a fucking dumbass writing a stupid silly song, like it always comes from like I want this in this, right? There's one I have a few. There's one I haven't released yet called. I looked right at it and then immediately forgot what it was called. I'm so good at this. There's one called Light in the Hallway, which was half written as like a potential bard backstory that I've never used and probably will use, but somebody else can steal it. Half written as just like a, wow, I stayed in this dorm one summer is part of staff housing for a job I worked, and the only light that was on was the emergency exit light, and the whole hallway is just bathed in red, and it very much looks like a scene out of a horror film. So I was like, here's a ghost story based on this. I have a song very creatively named an Icarus-related song, specifically based on the poem that was like, they say Icarus laughed as he fell from the sky. I don't remember the poem, nor do I remember what it's called or who wrote it. Sorry. Big fan of Wonderland, which is one that's out actually. The other one that's out that I am also like super super proud of that I love is actually based on Ben's Spells and Whistles character. It's called Linoleum Floors, and it was one of the first songs I released as part of Everything Nothing, which was half a Spells and Whistles project, half a Grace was already doing this anyway. Where I wrote songs based on the 4 characters in our main campaign. So it was like half of I was doing this already, and half of we have our Spells and Whistles 2nd anniversary coming up. On a whim, I was just like, what if I did a Spotify release the same day?
That's awesome.
Because apparently I am a sane human being that does things in a normal way.
What kind of influence did the players have on those songs that you wrote about their characters?
It was very much like hear Grace's interpretation of your character.
Okay.
Including my character, I guess, but I remember I am one of those people. I have to keep reminding myself that I count in the head count of players in the game. I don't know how I keep forgetting that. That's the day we're having. Hi. But yeah, there was a lot of it was really interesting because 2 of the characters that I wrote songs based on, we didn't know basically anything about that. Well, we knew kind of some about one of them, but like the other one, we still don't know very much about her. And so like, it's not very accurate.
Okay.
Expecting it to be. When I was writing Ben's character had a lot of his backstory dropped in Arc 1 of Spells and Whistles, and so we knew, I knew a little bit more going into it. And that song is based mostly on Ben's character, but a little bit on my character from the game that I left. I keep gesturing down this way because there's a giant stack of notes. Do you want me to pull out the stack?
Can you just show this stack? Because it's fucking insane.
Hang on, I need to move my mic. She's heavy. Hi. These are most of the notes from my 6 years of playing D&D and TTRPGs. And then the rest of them are on my iPad. So there's not an easy way of showing that. But if you ever wanted to know how much of a note taker I am, hi. This is actually 2 of the games that I'm in. This is my 2 most recent games. I showed this to Joe right before we started. But all of the pages in these 2 notebooks are very, very covered in writing. Exhibit A and Exhibit B. This is mostly because my memory is weird. And the act of physically writing down a lot of stuff helps you remember things a lot better. There's a lot of really dumb quotes because we say a lot of stupid shit in both of these games.
Oh.
And there's a lot of quotes in there. Of just silly, stupid shit. But, it's the balance of it, right?
Yeah.
I love that I keep reaching up here. There's nothing up
any
here.
balance in that notebook pile. It's just it's insane.
Surprisingly, it hasn't fallen over yet. I did have to go scavenging around my room to find all of these, because most of them are out of commission right now. But yeah, demonetized. My friend John's saying the amount of notes for one session. Yeah, there's like 10 pages of notes for one session in both of those campaigns. I have no chill.
I think that's a great place to end it on you having zero fucking chill. Is there anything you would like to plug? Where can people find you? I'm gonna post your link tree in the chat right now. Where can we find you, Grace? What are you doing?
Yeah, I am on TikTok. I am on here on Twitch. I am on Instagram. Basically, most social medias. I keep forgetting about a couple of them. Specifically Threads and Blue Sky. I never remember that I'm on Threads and Blue Sky. I remember like once in a blue moon. Like today, I remembered that I had a Blue Sky account. I made that account months ago. I remembered today that I had an account. Yeah, so I'm Ghostlight G everywhere, except for Twitter. I am Ghostlight Grace on Twitter. All one word, no weird capital O's, capital. Whoa. no weird spacing or underscores or anything like that. It's just a single word. But yeah, I have music out on Spotify and pretty much everywhere you can listen to music. So Spotify, Apple Music, other places that music goes up. I'm blanking
Are you
on
on YouTube
streaming
Music or
services.
no?
I am. I don't understand how YouTube Music works. I'm not gonna lie. Because my YouTube Music account is separate from my account, and I don't have access to it, but my songs get distributed to there.
Okay.
I don't know how that works. I should probably ask somebody. That would be a good thing to ask or figure out
Probably helpful.
at some point. I do also have a YouTube channel. I don't post to my YouTube channel. I've been told that I should.
Pretty helpful.
And I probably very much should. I should probably start taking stuff off of TikTok just in case.
Oh yeah.
Or at least like
just to have it.
just in case. So I still have it because again, my TikTok has become a lot of like my demos for those songs and I need those. I also just realized I didn't answer one of the questions. That was like half of the question, which was a song I haven't covered yet that I'd like to. I was looking at that. I was just like, did I say that? I didn't. I'm really good at this. I hope you like listening to me ramble live. Jesus Christ. Song I would like to cover that I haven't yet would be... Honestly, there's a lot of songs I've covered just like singing on like Twitch and TikTok, but like to make an official cover of, I would love to make an official cover of an Austin Wintory song. Okay. Specifically some of the ones from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Fun fact, I've never played that game, but I really like the soundtrack. It's really good. I feel like Underground from Assassin's Creed Syndicate would be a really fun one to cover because I've sung it a couple times on stream.
Oh really?
Yeah. And it's a fun song. But, you know, hi, in case we ever didn't realize or it wasn't super obvious, I like depressing shit.
So
I like...
Which I don't think anyone would ever guess talking to you. It's like, you're just so fucking bubbly and amazing.
It's really funny to me that, like, the things that I'm into and my actual personality don't always align. Like, if I told you that one of my favorite games that I've ever played is God of War Ragnarok and God of War 2018, I don't think you would ever get that from just looking at me, which is really, really funny.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to plug?
Brain. I'm on Spells and Whistles. That's the thing. I don't remember what our socials are. I think it's Spells and Whistles Pod everywhere except for Twitter, and I think we're Spells_Whistles because Spells and Whistles Pod was too long for Twitter, I think was the reason we did that. I don't know. I didn't make the account. The lovely beans that work on that. I'm gonna be at Gen Con handing out tiny paper dragons to people that say hi. I'm on a panel at Gen Con. Keep an eye out for announcements on future projects because this month is crazy. Oh! I'm doing a charity thing! That's a bit... I'm so good at this. I'm in a charity event called Love for All at the end of this month that is hosted by my friend Noah, also known as Glitch Streams. I, along with several of my friends, some of whom are here, will all be participating, and we're also going to be running a lot of run-up streams for that event. So the week of, starting on the 22nd, I believe, there's going to be a few different streams starting to raise money. We're raising money for a charity called Gamers Outreach. I'm going to try that again. Gamers Outreach, which helps bring video games to children in the hospital. So because it's, shitty and it gives them something to do to help them take their mind off of whatever treatment they're going through.
Awesome.
And so our current goal for this year is to raise $3,500 so we can get what they call a go-kart, which is basically like an all-in-one console station that has like every console you could ever want for video games, that can be wheeled into the kids' room, and so they can play all the video games they want while they're in recovery.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you hear the cars that just went by really loudly while I was talking, but yeah, I'm gonna be in a lot of the run-up streams actually, and I'll post official announcements as they go out. But Doob, who is a really great friend of mine, and also a friend of Maisie, is going to be running a level 21 shot on the 22nd at 7:30 Eastern. 7 or 7:30? One of the two.
Okay.
I'll look for it later. Eastern Standard Time over on his channel.
Which is?
And then, which is twitch.tv/doobdoob4, I believe.
Okay.
I will be running I will be doing a couple things on my channel. I'm going to be running a game called You Awaken in a Strange Place, with some of the people who are in chat actually, and a couple other friends of ours that are not content creators, which is just silly, goofy bullshit. Honestly, pure chaos, all improv stuff. So technically, I will be GMing in the future, but like with some fun incentives. I'm hoping if there's enough time, there's going to be some shitty drawings done by me and my friends. We'll be drawing. I am not an artist, like not a like a visual artist, but it'll be silly, goofy, fun times. You'll get to watch me draw things badly and ask me to draw things badly for donations for the charity. And then the big thing that I'm doing for mine, other than You Awaken, is I'm doing a new thing that I'm calling Shitty Silly Shakespeare. Where we're taking a Shakespeare play, and there's a bunch of incentives. Like somebody has to be like Catgirl Lysander in Midsummer or something like that, or people switch accents, or people have to do some weird quirk. And whilst like somebody has to be serious, you might be switching roles with each other. There's a bunch of incentives that I'm gonna have up there.
And that's gonna be on your channel.
After me, that's gonna be on my channel. I don't remember what BK is doing, so I'll put it in an announcement somewhere. And then the day after mine, my friend John, D&D Monetized, who's in chat right now, is going to be running a one-shot, level 10 to 15 one-shot, called Greenland Express, which is part of a West Marches style thing that he runs periodically, at 8:30 Eastern, on the 27th. Over on his channel, which is twitch.tv/D&D Monetize. So and then the actual 24-hour event is going to be Saturday, June 29th, starting at 10 a.m. and will go to Sunday, June 30th at 10 a.m. Full 24 hours. I will be on for most of it because I hate myself, apparently.
Insane.
And that will be over at twitch.tv/glitch streams. So if you want to help us raise money for charity, the other part of us reaching our $3,500 goal is going to be Noah has to get a tattoo based on Love for All. So we're really, really excited to be working with Gamers Outreach this year. This is the second year I've done this, and I'm really excited about the fact that I'm not doing it post-wisdom tooth surgery this time. And therefore, I will be not in a significant amount of pain while playing video games for charity.
Usually pretty helpful.
Don't do a 24-hour stream 3 days post-op. Just PSA. It's a big. You will hurt. I've made choices.
Gosh.
It's fine.
All right. That's all we got for tonight. Thank you so much, Grace, for joining me. This has been amazing. You're wonderful. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me.
You were absolutely amazing. Can't wait to see you at Gen Con. Make sure you vote for Grace's song. I think the polls go up tomorrow when the official announcement.
Formal announcement comes out tomorrow, so I believe the polls also open tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe they open tomorrow. It's critaward.org. There may be other people that you know that are on and eligible for voting tomorrow that don't have permission to talk about it yet. Don't know who those could be. Love you, geeks. Stick around for the raid. Good night.
Goodbye.